Folks, it's Tuesday Newsday, and the space birds are chirping. Are you tired of your local planet? Fear not, Alpha 4.11 is coming with Genesis Planet Tech and all these new things on Nix 1, and I'll tell you what, the players, they don't believe it. But we'll talk about why later. Okay, it's later. 4.10 is still in PTU. It's not looking like there's going to be a release this week. There still are no release candidates, and it's still a little unstable. Though CIG is still putting out patches, even over the weekend, so we'll keep an eye on it. Also, the ship showdown is continuing on to Stage 2 this week. Round of 16 is starting, so you can fill out your brackets and send them in, and we can judge who does the best. But really, you're just getting a chance to vote on, like, the most popular ships in Star Citizen, with a big asterisk. And also, the Kruger Intergalactic Stingray approaches. We've seen some teases, we've seen some leaks, but there's still no behind the ships coming this week, so who knows? Before we get into everything, thank you guys, by the way, for the feedback last week, especially this one. Very productive. I hear y'all like the news, so we're going to keep this one going. I'm glad you're enjoying it, but we're switching things up this week. Major news first. So where does everything stand? What's going on in the game right now? 4.9 is in live, still rough, still better than 4.8, still not much change there. 4.10 is still in PTU, as I mentioned, and it's definitely not coming this week. It is improving. Still not ready for a live release. Probably next week. Instancing and Siege of Orison are still the main blockers and the main focuses of the PTU, with a few blocking glitches left, but just know this patch is not going to get Star Citizen into a much better state than what we've already been seeing. Still hoping for a slow march towards that rather than some 1 or 2 patch change. But that's not the real news. Let's talk about the roadmap roundup. We got the addition of Nix 1 on the roadmap for Alpha 4.11 last week, and it's coming with all kinds of grass. Now, I'm hearing people say that this is expected for September, and I'm seeing CIG say on the roadmap that it is a Q3 patch, but I think that it's going to be too soon. Regardless, we'll see what happens. The first planet, though, is a pretty big step forward for Star Citizen and genuinely an exciting development, not just because it's a new feature, but because generally the Planet Tech team is good at delivering what they try to deliver. They've always gotten ahead of the game, and it's been pretty stuff. Ali Brown, Will Hain, and a lot of the other folks on the team have built and iterated on some genuinely groundbreaking planetary dev tools. Industry leading, I think, and this newest version is heavy on optimization. It is primarily meant to utilize your GPU more than your CPU, which has proven to be a big bottleneck for the game, and I think part of why we keep falling through planets. Don't quote me on that, I'm not a doctor. It also revamps the mineable scattering system so that miners can more easily and reliably find certain things based on the geology and topography of the actual planets. It'll also fix rock scattering so they show up around cliffs and mountains more and not in the middle of valleys, hopefully making it so that we can actually drive ground vehicle places without, like, constantly flipping over. We will also be seeing Starchitect with this delivery, which is an iteration on Rastar and a pretty big promise from them. It allows for procedural placement of artist-made assets across the planet in a more systemic way. Think of like how Will Hain first made a river generation tool that made one river over time, and then a couple years later made a new tool that used that tool to make a whole bunch of rivers around a planet all at once. They're basically doing that, but with all aspects of planet building and outposts. Yeah, it's a big promise. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. This is all in theory, but in theory, it does mean many more points of interest across planets, which means more local gameplay and less flying around to get things done. Generally just an easier time playing in Star Citizen. Also, probably less bunched up people, so maybe the servers will run better. But we'll see how this lands later this year. Also, last week, a new monthly bundle was released. The Damascus Steel cosmetic variant of the new super heavy armor that you see in Siege of Orison. It's now on the store. Pretty normal from CIG. It comes with a unique skin, but with the inherent value and rarity of this item and the fact that crafting now gets you a better version in game, it starts to wear on players who just want to have that skin with the best possible version of that thing, right? This is just a skin that's locked to an item. It can't be adjusted in any way until we get upgrading in the game, which, I mean, I don't know. Rather, you now have to decide if you want the best version from in-game crafting, or if you want the unique cosmetic version that you like from buying it in the game. The current version of cosmetics in this game is a far cry from the hex codes or the ability to swap paints that we kind of were told was going to happen, and I think it's hurting them a lot. They have said there are plans for it in the past. That's the footage on the screen, but there's no real sign of it coming soon, and they have not talked about it in a long time. I think it's going to add on to the pile of things that's just rubbing players the wrong way right now, especially on top of the item recovery stuff going on. Here is a friend of the channel, mining and logistics extraordinaire, Star Citizen YouTuber Loudguns. He's talking about it, how it affects him.
Damascus steel is best steel. So I'm literally the target market for this product. I'm not an MTX hater, and I value cosmetics. If I ease up on the flat whites for a week, it won't dent my wallet too much. I'm gonna want the heavy armor, I like the Asgard as a ship, and this paint job is my jam. But I'm still not gonna buy it for myself. And that's because I prioritize gaining advantages in the game, and the crafting system that CIG have developed kills the drip market in its current form for me.
Yeah, this is CIG losing money. They need to give everybody who buys an item on the store a blueprint for that thing, or many people are just going to stop buying things with real money, which isn't great for them, especially because buying these kinds of armors and guns and items is much better than selling ships on the store. Now I can actually show you where Declan, who is working on some of the crafting, answered this sort of talk not too long ago. This was just last year, about how this was going to work with blueprints and you being able to get your stuff back. The long-term goal with cosmetic paints is to convert them into blueprints so they are no longer physicalized at a location like ship paints or bound to an entity like weapons and armor. If one of the items that you earned in an event is converted to be an item in cosmetic blueprint, then that cosmetic blueprint will of course still be permanently account bound. A cosmetic blueprint does not craft the item itself, it just allows for that cosmetic to be applied to the item via the crafting UI. So if you earned an event armor with a cool red skin, you could then craft or trade for a better version of that armor later and apply your cool red skin to it. That is exactly what people want to do with this skin to an actual crafted super heavy armor. But when are we going to get that? In other news, we've had another significant departure from CIG. Another relatively long-time member at the studio has been lost to the transition to Manchester. Galactica is a social media manager and member of the community team, and she has recently said she stepped away from CIG. The Astropub has pointed out to me that there is a recent listing for the social media manager position in Manchester, so that may be the case. This could be due to any number of reasons though, but we've seen several big names at the studio departing because of the whole transition over to Manchester. They really want to get everybody over there. A big thanks to Galactica for being a big part of the community team. I do wish her the best in her next pursuits. Now let's loop back around to that Planet Tech edition coming in 4.11, because according to you all, many believe it's going to arrive broken. Even more of you in the comments across Reddit and in Discord are saying that you don't even think it's going to make it. I put out a poll on the channel and a lot of you said that, yeah, it might be here, but it's going to be broken. That's not good. There's also the narrative that this roadmap roundup that announced 4.11 is here to distract from the Star Citizen Live episode and the state of Alpha 4.9. I'll say this, we can check out the upcoming news while still addressing the ongoing problems. See here. But clearly there is a disconnect. There's a big gap between what CIG is saying they're going to deliver and what actually everyone thinks they can. And that's honestly because 4.9 just wasn't as big an increase over 4.8 as I think people hoped. And 4.10 is still not showing a huge increase over 4.9. It's gradually getting better, but people want to see better fast because there's a lot to get to. I think the fact of the matter is that people want the deep-seated bugs that they've been dealing with for a long time addressed, and CIG is not going to get to those until they get the current things that are going on and being added working well. Now, some folks also are thinking that 4.11 is a distraction from the current problems. I don't think it is, partially because this has been getting teased all year. Monthly reports, Star Citizen Lives, CitizenCon. We've been recently covering it. And there's also just no distraction from what's currently going on in Star Citizen. It's rough. So the big question is, can they improve the game substantially before 4.11 comes around and they drop this Planet Tech in the game? And is them dropping this stuff into the game just going to end up destabilizing everything anyways? This is supposed to be an optimization push, but there's a lot of stuff added on top with the Starkitect, so your mileage may vary. Also, will they continue using the tech preview channel? If this patch is coming in September, it's too late. If it's coming in October, we should start seeing tech preview tests with the Planet Tech soon. So I hope we do see something. What do you think, Duncan? He said no money till Pyro. You keep going, buddy. Valiant effort. Honestly, I think they need to shore up the fundamentals, get the little things fixed at least right now, and just get the game out of a place where it's generating consistent bad press for them, because that will add up. Kira, a YouTuber who covers some projects that maybe sometimes don't have the best of times, landed on Star Citizen again. He's been there a few times. This time he has latched onto the latest Star Citizen Live episode that they did that was not great. And Moist Critical then, who is also a pretty big YouTuber, more personality-based, covers a lot of things in general, and generally hits some pretty big numbers when he does, usually millions of views. He also took a look, and he had a lot to say. I covered this over on my live channel yesterday, and I think my own coverage was actually a bit off and a bit more dismissive than I meant for it to be, especially to Ollie. I called it wrong, and that's why I don't really do reactions. Moist made some great points, though. The state of the game is just not great, and he said it in his own way. But I think the more important thing to take from this is that CIG's flubs can spread a lot when the proper light is shined on them, and their flubs are pretty bad. They need to shape up their production and their professionalism, and maybe put their better foot forward. I do love this game. Man, this company though, they do some things, and this is just going to get so much worse for them as they start their marketing campaign for Squadron 42, if that, whenever that happens. I've been saying it for months. Now here we are. Now, coming up this week, basically nothing. It's a quiet week. Expect a few PTU patches and some stress tests on the instancing and stuff, but mostly it's just prep for 4.10 to go live and the RSI newsletter. We have been getting some leaks and teasers of the upcoming Stingray from Kruger Intergalactic, but still no Behind the Ships episode means it's probably not coming next week. Interestingly, that means either the ship and therefore the new update, 4.10, aren't coming out next week. They have decided to delay the ship altogether on its own, or they aren't doing a promotion for the ship this week, even though the patch comes next week, which I think would be the first time this year. Either way, interesting situation we're in with that ship. It's notable, so we'll keep an eye on it. The lack of anything else newsworthy is pretty good in my opinion, actually. While it is true they don't have a sales date to hit this month with the update coming out, it's good that they're using that extra time to work on 4.10 and hopefully make it better before it goes live and take all of August to work on it. Now, that is after instancing was already delayed a month, so thank you, CIG, for sparing us that. But this is potentially another unstable tech drop into the live servers we're about to see. Hopefully not. But it hasn't been running well in their own servers so far. I gotta say, hopefully instancing doesn't affect the rest of the game. They can still work on other parts of the game. Instancing tech can hurt the things that use instancing like Siege of Orison, but I think everybody else still wants to see other things fixed like cargo and freight elevators, the different missions that aren't working in the planets and Pyro that let you fall through the floor. And there are just clearly a lot of things that people want figured out with this game. Now, what is most important coming this week is my baby boy. This is actually his. He will be born by the end of this week, so I actually have no idea how videos are going to be going over the next 10 days and on. But I will try to keep the news coming to you, and yeah, even if it is a bit lower quality, it should be reaching your eyeballs. I hope you enjoyed this week. Thank you so much for watching these episodes. Keep leaving your feedback down below. I do want to keep taking this to other space games eventually so we can get back to Space Games Weekly, and hearing that from you guys helps. If you want to see more news throughout the week, make sure to subscribe, check out the channel, and come discuss this with us live at 9 a.m. Pacific. All right, see you later. Bye.